Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the live show. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're ready to talk about dogs and hope you're ready to have some ideas. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask those questions in the chat area. Just want to double check everything. Yes, everything is going well. We are live. All right. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask your questions in the chat area. Today we're going to talk about how do we fix dogs bad behavior, so called. I'm going to share my take on that. I'm going to share my ideas, uh, some new ways of looking at dealing with dog behavior. Just make sure everything is okay. Good. Okay. All right. Hope you can hear me and see me well. So let's first talk about what is bad behavior. But why is it that we call dogs bad behavior bad behavior? Have a slide as well. Okay, I will do. So the reason we say a dog is a bad behaving dog, let's first of all figure out why is it that we call a dog behaving badly. I would say most of the time it's not that the dog is behaving badly, it's because it's doing something that you specifically don't like it, you don't want it. What I mean by that is, for example, I don't mind my dog, for example, jumping on me, but most people find the dog jumping on them annoying. So therefore, they call that bad behavior. You um, for some family, the barking could be okay, but for other families, the barking is a problem. Um, for some family, the dog reacting to other dogs, they they just say, that's how it is, and to others, it may be a problem. So it all depends on how you see the dog, what the dog is doing, and how you feel about that behavior, that it becomes annoying or problem. So overall, dog behavior is something that we have to realize that the behavior that the dog is giving us, it's not bad behavior, it's just the behavior that the dog is sharing with us, and it's us humans who are translating it to a bad behavior. Bad behavior of the dog is, in general, from my point of view, but in general, I would say it's an underlying signal to you that the dog is feeling somewhat uncomfortable, feeling a little bit discomfort, or I would say um, not satisfied. That's why the dog is behaving badly. What I mean by that exactly is, dogs, if they are completely satisfied, happy, and they're stimulated enough, they would literally leave you alone. They won't cause any headache. They won't cause any problem. They won't be doing anything that will annoy you or anything like that. Therefore, you're not gonna feel that your dog is misbehaving. But if you don't provide your dog's needs, such as walking and, mentally and physically getting stimulated, and yes, Kim says bored dogs. Yes, if your dog is bored, is gonna you're gonna notice that your dog is giving you those bad behaviors. But if you provide your dog's mental, physical, emotional, psychological, physiological needs, then your dog is going to say, you know what, I have everything that I needed. I am pretty much good now. I'm just going to mind my own business. I'm going to just chill here, hang out with you. I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to do anything that is extreme. And that's how you basically prevent unwanted dog behaviors to develop. Basically, you have to, um, in a way, prevent it from happening. If you don't prevent it from happening, then you're going to keep uh, causing your dog to have these behaviors, that unwanted behaviors, and then you're going to keep piling up these unwanted behavior, and you're going to get to the point that you're going to say, my dog is annoying, my dog is driving me crazy, my dog is problem. But if you provide everything that your dog needs, your dog is not going to have the energy, the mental capacity, physical capacity, and emotional needs of the dog doing something to annoy you, to do something that it bothers you. But on the other side, you have to realize that if your dog is causing bad behaviors, and you're sensing those bad behaviors and you're noticing them, and you see that your dog is actually um, bothering you, then that's a signal, I would say, to you that your dog's needs has not been provided. So what I mean by a dog's need not being provided is basically this formula. If you don't provide your dog's daily five essential needs, your dog is going to cause problems, give you bad behaviors, give you unwanted behaviors. Um, and most dog owners, they say, I do a little bit of this and that. I do this, I do that, but um, a little bit of this and that doesn't do much. You have to kind of commit to provide your, you know, I don't want to say minimal, I call it essential needs of your dog. Minimal is like, I'm just going to provide a little bit of this and that, right? When you say a little bit of this and that for my dog, that means you're forcing yourself to do something that you really don't want. And when your mindset is like that, you're not really committed to the concept of, first of all, the relationship building and living with a dog, and also the concept of um, problem solving. Preventing your dogs to develop unwanted behaviors, right? Um, Carola, Carola says most dogs are bored. They need a job to do and interacting with their humans. That's a good point. Yes, that's the way that most dog owners know this, but they don't put it into action. They know that their dog is probably bored and needs a job. Um, and and I'm glad that you brought up the point of interacting with their humans. That's very important too. I really feel like we need to interact with our dogs a lot more than many people do. But few things here. Yeah, as I said, if you don't provide your dogs five essential needs, which I'm gonna quickly explain what those are. Yeah, the dog gets bored, and basically, it's not that they need a job. Many there's this mix of many people. They say you don't need to anthropomorphize your dog, but the thing is that we in some cases we need to, in some cases we shouldn't. you know um, we have to be a little bit open to ideas and just work with what works and what doesn't work. In my experience, from my experience, I've noticed that we have to anthropomorphize. If I'm saying that word right, it's a very difficult uh, word. Uh, Let me see. Anthropomorph anthropomorphize. Yeah, anthropomorphize. Yes. um we we in a way we have to somewhat anthropomorphize and somewhat not. But we can't, in this case, for example, we don't need to look at it that our dogs need a job, like hum job like humans, that they go and um, clock in, clock out, and work and do office work or anything like that. It's not that. What I'm saying is the dog needs to have um, a purpose, right? There's a purpose for a dog. We have to have a clear purpose for a dog. The reality is that as a human, we choose to go and bring dogs to our lives. And as we do that, we have to honor that, and we have to say, you know what, I'm the creator now. I'm the god of you now, right? In a way. And here's what I provide for you, right? Like, that dog didn't make you to choose him or her. You chose that dog, and it's your responsibility to provide that dog's needs, the, the dog's daily five essential needs. Um, and thank you for honoring that. Appreciate that. And we have to we have to honor that and say, you know what, I we will, as a human beings, that as dog owners, we will do what is necessary to provide and give our dogs. It's not job that we need to give them. It's just we have to give them that freedom of choice, in a way. They can have, they can do whatever they want, in a way, as long as they're behaving properly, right? As long as they're happy, as long as they're satisfied, I'm sure if you provide everything that your dog needs, it won't cause you any problem. It will make your life happy and they will be happy. And how do you make a dog happy? Well, you focus on providing a dog's daily five essential needs. This is not a theory. This is something that I've uh, I've realized after working with dogs and dog owners for over 20 years. I've realized that this is what a dog really needs. Now, let me give you what those needs are, and then how did I come up with this formula in a way. Well, those five things are, first thing and foremost is exercise. You need to physically stimulate your dog, physical stimulation. Number two is training, which is mental stimulation. Dogs need mental stimulation. That's what I mean when I say, you have to be able to stimulate your dog is mental stimulation as well, as much as you're providing physical stimulation for your dog. Socialization, which is social stimulation. Many dogs are social creatures. They're they're social animals. They need some form of social stimulation, and I don't mean like the dog has to socialize with other dogs only. There are many ways that dogs and humans socialize. If your dog, for example, enjoys walk on the beach, loves the beach, loves the ocean, loves the water, it needs to go and socialize with the water. You know what I mean? It's not that only dogs or humans. A dog needs certain things. Every dog is unique. Every dog needs certain things, and you need to provide those certain things for that dog when it comes to socialization. So when I say socialization, I don't just mean socializing with dogs or humans. I'm talking about socializing a dog with what it needs. The next thing is, physiological stimulation, the care. Many dog owners, they uh, don't really focus on this part. They don't think that this is something that uh, would stimulate the dog. So one example I can give you is, let's say, the ritual of eating, right? Many dog owners, what they do is, when it comes to feeding their dog, they go and scoop the food from the bag, put it in a bowl, and put it down, and the dog eats, and that's it. Um, that's not very. First of all, the food. I'm not going to be getting into that point of the food of scooping the food, which is kibble. I'm not going to be talking about the food itself, but the quality of the food. Kibble is not a right food for dogs, anyways. Uh, but when you're feeding a dog, the preparation, the the process of prepping the food, the putting everything together, and then inviting the dog to be calm and collected and then eat. That itself, it's a ritual that you, as a dog owner, need to learn and practice it with your dog as well. I enjoy that process itself, and that process itself is a very stimulating for the dog. The dog gets a lot from that process itself. It's not that they enjoy, yeah, well, they when they eat, yes, they enjoy, but that time that they are waiting and are involved with you as you prep the food, that itself, that time that it passes until they get to the food, is very stimulating for the dog. They need that. You know the saying that dogs used to be wolves, and wolves usually they go and hunt and eat the food. Um, the eating is the payoff, yes, but the ritual of getting ready for a hunt and going on a hunt and hunting itself is so stimulating for that wolf, right? So satisfying, so dramatic in a way. They go up and down. The drama goes up and down. The process of chasing the prey and maybe losing the prey and then catching up with the prey and chasing again and getting to the prey and finally getting it and then bring it down and all that. All that uh, drama, all that process is the joy that they have. The eating is the icing on the cake, yes. So you need to somehow also provide that stimulation for your dog when it comes to care. The feeding is one of the parts of the care. There are other parts of the care that we have to focus on as well. uh, and the last thing is affection. Affection is something that many dog owners, again, they don't realize that it's a kind of emotional stimulation for a dog. That dog needs that emotional um, ride throughout the day as well. You can't just uh, bombard the dog with affection and say, here it is, here you go. What it does, um, when you give all day, the dog says, I get affection all day long, so it's not valuable anymore. Just like a dog eats the food, right? The food is the icing. Affection should be a process as well. A dog should say, what, how can I get affection from my human? How can I give affection to my dog? It has to work for it. It has to somehow stimulate itself to either give or receive affection. And when you go through that and exercises with your dog like that, it becomes stimulating, right? So these are the five things. Exercise, it's not just about the walk, it's the way your dogs needs to be exercised. Certain dogs need half an hour, certain dogs need 45 minutes, and another dog needs an hour, a couple of times a day maybe. It depends on your dog's energy level, physical capabilities, and all that you have to figure out and uh, commit to it and provide that exercise on daily basis to provide physical stimulation. A little bit of training, I call that mental stimulation. Training, in many dog owners' point of view is, I'm teaching sit, stay calm, and this and that. Yes, that could be it too, but you have to go above and beyond that and create a little bit of stimulation that develops not only relationship and communication, but bond and trust, and also it becomes stimulating for your dog. You need to mentally stimulate your dog as more than you stimulate physically your dog. So in my perspective, uh, dogs need to be physically stimulated like 30%, whereas mentally they need to be stimulated 70%. And let me just reply to this. So Carola C says, I take my dogs to park and they are happy all day. Very good. Yes. So taking to the dogs to park, um, for example, it hits two birds, maybe two or three birds. So they get exercise. They get exercise. Um, They don't get training there. I don't because they're going to park. They're just in Disneyland, so they get a little bit of socialization, right? Maybe a little bit of care there, somewhat, but it hits two birds, maybe, exercise and socialization when they go to park, right? So the other parts needs to be addressed as well. I agree. Even a walk around the block is a good thing. It doesn't have to be kilometers of walk. Many dog owners, again, uh, very either they're giving too much exercise, too much walking, or too little walking. So the walking, as I said, it's just 30% of your focus. Should be your only focus for your dog. 30%. The 70% should be the training. So as I said before, this is not just a theory. This is something that I figured out and I realized after working with dogs and dog owners for over 20 years. I used to have a doggy daycare. I got involved with, you know, the business of dog daycare and also dogs and dog training and all that. And I got a lot of experience just working with dogs in that environment and uh, being literally dealing with dogs behavioral issues, and I could see and I could sense uh, that dogs that they had, from the dog's owner's point of view, they had everything, but there were certain things that they were missing in the dog's life. So the dog owner, for example, I'll give you an example that would bring the dog to dog daycare or doggy daycare for the dog to exercise. So the goal of the dog owner was the dog to get exercise and some socialization, right? And from the dog owner point of view, the dog owner was doing really good thing, right? Hoping that by sending the dog to dog daycare, the problems would either go away or the problems wouldn't develop. But the dogs were still having behavioral issues because the dog owner was just focused on, here, let me invest and spend this money on my dog's daycare, so therefore it will help it. But it was just touching the dog's one or two parts of its daily needs, which was exercise and socialization. Yeah, the dogs would get good exercise at the dog daycare. They would play and run around and walk around and stimulate with other dogs and play with other dogs and socialize with other dogs. But the training and the proper care and proper form of affection was missing in that dog's life. Maybe the dog owner would share a lot of affection as well, but that didn't help because too much affection is not good either. And there were dog owners who would spend maybe one day, who would send their dog maybe one day a week, hoping that that will help the dog. And there were dog owners who would send their dog every day and hoping that that would help. So there were dog owners who would do too much or they would do a little, right? Uh, and based on that, I realized that most dogs have problems not because um, they're not being loved. Dog owners, they love their dogs. They share a lot of affection with them. uh, but they don't provide good diet for the dog, for example, good care for the dog. They don't really socialize the dog either. They just do minimal again, and there's no training in the dog's life. They dog owners usually invest in the dog training. Maybe when the dog is a puppy, they take a puppy training class, or if the dog is a little bit older, they take a 6 weeks or 8 weeks dog training course, hoping that that will help. And basically, they get nothing out of that. Um, I remember running dog training classes in the beginning, and I was uh, I was like kind of watching the dog owner, if they attended my dog training class the first day, and the difference between the first day and the eighth day that they took the class, was there any difference? Not really, uh, because of many issues, many problems. And that's why I stopped doing group classes and puppy training classes and all that, because I noticed that it's just useless. The dog owners are not getting the value that they need. And it's not because I was a bad dog trainer. It was because the idea, the system of dog training is broken. It's not the way it should be. I was following what other dog trainers were doing, and I realized that it's not working. Just because they're doing that, I should do it too. So I was doing it. The problem with dog training classes, group classes, or private dog training is that you're putting pressure on the dog and the dog owner to attend a group class, for example. And there are other dogs in that class, right? Other stressful dogs and stressful dog owners are in the class. And it's not a right, good environment for that dog and the dog owner to be, in order for it to learn and process the information that they're getting from the dog trainer. And as a dog trainer myself, for example, um, I had limitations. I couldn't express my information. I couldn't deliver the information that I needed properly to my students, because, for example, I'm trying to explain something to the dog owners, and the dogs are barking, and the dogs are misbehaving, and the dog owners are distracted by these activities, and they're not paying attention to what I'm trying to hardly to explain. And when I'm saying, let's separate you guys, then the dog owners, they say, then what's the point of me coming to dog training class? They don't benefit from that. When you put them in a group, chaos happens. There's a lot of problems, and the system is broken. Like, I would compare it to, public school, right? In the public school, yes, you can get some education, but I believe private schools and, private tutoring is much better, because you're focusing on exact problem of the student, and you can fix that, and also you have the opportunity to input information properly. So that was it. I thought, okay, I'm not able to educate dog owners the way I wanted. So I had to create a new program, new system in a way, to educate dog owners. And that's where I started doing online coaching and dog training program. where I work with dog owners, even if they are local dog owners, locally, if they want to work with me, I don't want to invest and spend time driving to their home, uh, waste time driving to get to their home, and then do the session again in distracted environment. Even though it's one on one, I'd rather work with dog owners online, because what happens is the dog owner is getting information directly from me in the comfort of their home. They don't have to drive, they don't have to uh, wait for me, they don't have to schedule a time at this time, at that time. They get the information directly from me whenever they want, and whenever they're able and capable, they implement the information and practice it with their dog. And then um, I just coach them and help them to figure out what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do, adjust things. That's much more effective. And that happened during the pandemic, when we started doing online coaching and training, and I realized that that's working even better. So that's how I started doing online training and coaching. And by the way, if you are interested in working with me, and if you want to be coached and train your dog online with me using my philosophy and ideology and system, feel free to get in touch with me. There's a link in the description of this video that you can connect with me and book a free video call to see if you're eligible to work with me using my private online dog training and coaching program. Feel free to join. And that's where I realized that dog training has to change. The way we need to look at our dogs has to change. We need to provide our dogs daily 5 essential needs, which are exercise, training, socialization, care, and affection. It's not a fluke. It's something that I realized after working with dogs and dog owners, in really deep level. um, I realized these are missing from our dogs, and we need to provide those in order for our dogs to be, how do you say, be perfect. You know, many dog owners, they tell me, how do I stop my dog from doing this and that, right? Well, if you provide your dog's daily 5 essential needs, you don't have to bother um, dealing with your dog's behavioral issues, because your dog is saying, you know what, I had everything that I needed today. Therefore, I'm just going to leave you alone. I'm not going to bother you. I'm satisfied. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm well stimulated. My needs has been provided. Um, I had my exercise, I had my physical stimulation, I had my mental stimulation, I had my social stimulation, and physiological stimulation has been provided for me all day. And I'm getting my emotional stimulation as well. Therefore, beat. I need to go and relax and just chill, and when they chill, that's where the happiness and joy comes to your life, right? And that's how you fix bad behavior. It's that simple. You don't need to invest in um, expensive tools, expensive programs, expensive um, ideas. Many dog owners, they invest in shock collars and this leash, this halty, this uh, harness, that harness, thinking that that's how they're going to be able to fix dog behavior. That's not how you fix the dog behavior. In those tools, gadgets, um, domination, people invest in the ideas of dog trainers who use alpha method and domination, uh, thinking that that's how they're gonna fix their dog's bad behavior. But those are, I call them, band-aid solutions. Whereas if you go really deep in what you're supposed to do as a dog owner, as I said, as a responsible dog owner who has made this commitment to go and bring a dog to their lives, then your role is, for that dog, is that you're their God, right? Per se. And if you're their God, you have to provide things for them. They depend on you. You have to understand that they rely on you, and you have to provide those five things in order for the dog says, you know what, this is good life. I'm enjoying this life. Thank you. Thank you, God or human, for providing me all everything that I need. I'm good. I'm going to be happy, satisfied, not going to bother you anymore. Just going to chill. And if you focus on that, focusing on providing those five essential needs, you're not going to rely on ideas, rely on tools, gadgets, being alpha, being dominant. Many dog owners have been told that you have to be alpha to your dog, and alphas and dominant dogs and dog owners, they never let the dog to walk ahead, because ahead is where the alpha walks. But if you study the origin of this idea, for example, of alpha, being the alpha wolf. Alpha wolf never walks in front. Guess where the alpha wolf walks? Can you guess? Does it walk in front of the pack? Does it walk in the middle of the pack? Or does it walk in the end of the pack? Where does the alpha wolf walk? Can you guess? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Where does the alpha wolf usually walk? Let's talk about that for a moment. Any ideas? All right, I'll tell you. I think you don't know. You may not know. Okay, alpha wolf usually walks on the back. Doesn't walk in the front or middle. Walks in the back. The safest area, first of all, and second of all, is the area that the alpha pack can keep an eye on the entire pack, right? Yeah, now you now you're saying the answer. Yes, of course. After I said the answer, back of the pack. Yes. Um, the reason, you know, when you take your dog for a walk and the dog wants to walk in front of you, for example, it's not because the dog thinks that I'm the pack leader, I'm the wolf pack boss, I want to walk in front. No, your dog is doing uh, its natural job, walking in front of you to keep you safe, because your dog knows that you're the boss, you're the pack leader, so called. So it wants to keep you safe. So you have to honor that, and you let your dog to walk in front. And I'm not saying to let your dog pull on the leash and walk in front of you, be in danger. But your dog has to learn that um, in urban environment, since you have a little bit of wolf in you, my dog, and you're living in an urban environment, the mindset has to shift. So I know you want to walk in front of me because you want to protect your pack leader, but in urban environment, you don't just walk on your own. You have to walk near me, um, by me without uh, without let's say pulling on the leash. So those rules and ideas has to be taught to the dog, because the dog is half wolf, half dog, half wolf, natural animal, half uh, domesticated animal. So you have to, again, as a dog owner, you have to teach this uh, con- concept to your dog. Your dog doesn't know it because it's a it's an animal. First of all, it's an animal who has a wild side to it, and it's an animal that has a wild side to it, and it's living in an urban environment with humans. So it's and there's a lot going on in your dog's brain, right? So you have to somehow re-educate and control that brain, right? You can't just let it be, and you can't just take all that freedom away from that dog. You have to give, you have to take, and you have to adjust that. And that's what I do as a dog coach to dog owners. That's what I do in my coaching sessions with my students in my program. We go dial deep inside of the relationship, the dog owner, everything. We figure out exactly what you need, exactly what your dog needs, exactly why your dog is doing that, what we need to do, how we need to do, what we need to stop to do, what we need to do in order to everything to line up properly and get our ideal results, right? As a dog owner from our dogs. Again, if you are interested in working in that level and you need a coaching, there's a link in the description. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's talk and today's session and today's interaction with me, with you. I enjoyed being interacting with you and spend this time with you and talk about dogs. Thank you very much. If there are no other questions, we're going to end the session right here, right now. And I hope to see you next time. I'm releasing a new video tomorrow, as every Sunday. I hope that you're going to watch that video tomorrow and enjoy that. And if there is any questions, leave those questions in the comments area or any of my videos. You can leave comments as well. I'll be reading them, answering them, and interacting with you, socializing with you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Kim Jacobs, Caroline, um, and Kim and Caroline. I think those two are. You've been very interactive with me. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody else also being here. And I'll see you next time. And until next time, have fun with your dogs. Take care.